We've all been there. You walk outside on a crisp winter day, maybe you just stepped out of a warm shower, and you hear that echo in your mind.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
that voice of, I don't know, history, maybe your grandmother warning you.
Don't go out with wet hair.
Exactly. That's how you get sick. Or the big one, put on a coat or you'll catch your death.
It's universal advice,
It
right?
feels like it's mythological at this point. But the question we have is this long-held wisdom actually backed by science? I mean, is wearing a massive parka truly your best defense against the common cold?
Yeah, is it the ultimate shield?
Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to unpack the reality of cold exposure and illness by going straight to the research. We're going to find out if your favorite sweater is a mighty shield or, just a cozy blanket.
And if you came here looking for us to confirm that your thermal underwear is a cold-stopping superhero, you might be a little disappointed, but you'll be enlightened by your own biology. I mean, our source material gives us a pretty blunt answer right at the top. Wearing warm clothes helps maintain your core body temperature,
Okay, so that's good. It prevents hypothermia.
which is vital, absolutely. But, and this is the key, it does not directly prevent viral respiratory infections like colds or the flu.
So the connection is not that simple.
It's way more complex than just putting on another layer.
Okay, let's start right there then.
Yeah.
Why is my great thermal coat, the one that cost me half a paycheck, failing me on the viral front? If I'm bundled up like a character from The Empire Strikes Back, trekking across Hoth, why isn't my body warm enough to fight off germs?
It's a fantastic defense against the big picture environment, the cold itself. But it has a very specific microscopic weakness.
Okay.
The research shows that warm clothes offer, well, minimal direct protection against the viruses because the failure point isn't your core body temp. Thanks to that coat, your core stays locked in at a nice toasty 37 degrees Celsius.
So the coat's doing its job.
It is. The flaw in the armor, so to speak, is the point of entry for the virus.
My nose and mouth.
Exactly. Your upper airways. Your coat cannot warm the air you breathe. Every single time you inhale that cold winter air, it directly hits your nasal mucosa.
And that cools things down internally.
Instantly. It maintains a much cooler temperature right there in your nose, usually around 30 to 35 degrees Celsius, no matter how many layers you're wearing on the outside.
Wow, so even if I'm wearing a huge scarf pulled up over my face, just the act of breathing in that cold air is enough to create that temperature drop right where viruses want to land.
Precisely. That's just the physics of respiration.
Yeah.
The heat exchange happens immediately. And, there's another huge failing of the warm coat strategy that has nothing to do with physiology.
Let me guess. It's where we go to stay warm.
Exactly. The indoor paradox. Warm clothes don't prevent indoor crowding or improve ventilation.
The crowd factor.
That's it. In winter, we all huddle indoors where we're in close proximity, and that just dramatically increases the chance of transmission.
Your expensive jacket doesn't improve the air quality in the office, right?
Not at all. It doesn't lower the germ load in that crowded waiting room you're sitting in.
Okay, so let's leave the coat behind and dive into what's happening internally, because this is where it gets really fascinating. The finding that just blew my mind is that viruses are temperature sensitive.
They are.
And it seems like they found a strategic weakness in that cooler zone right inside your nose.
This is what's so wild. It's how the viruses exploit that natural temperature difference. Studies show that common cold viruses, we're talking rhinoviruses, some human coronaviruses, they preferentially replicate at that cooler nasal airway temperature.
What temperature are we talking about?
Specifically around 33 degrees Celsius. They are way less effective at replicating at your core body temperature of 37 degrees.
That is the ultimate wow fact. It's like they were designed to attack the one place our thermal shield can't protect.
It's a thermal vulnerability they actively seek out.
Yeah.
And gets even more strategic than that.
How
At that slightly cooler nasal temperature, the body's essential antiviral defense responses. They're called interferon responses.
interferons.
Oh,
Okay, that sounds a little complicated.
yeah, but think of them as your body's biological alarm system. They're the first responders. They send out signals to nearby cells, warning them of a viral threat and telling them to, raise their defenses.
Like an early warning system.
Exactly. But when your nose is cold, those alarms just don't go off as loudly or as quickly. They're significantly muted compared to what they would be at core body temperature.
So, wait, we have two bad things happening at once in the nose.
Mm-hmm.
First, the virus is replicating faster because it loves the cold. And second, our immune system is basically hitting the mute button on its own best defense because it's too cold to fight properly.
You've got it. The virus exploits this naturally cooler, low defense environment to get a really strong foothold before the rest of your immune system even knows what's happening.
It's an evolutionary masterstroke,
It
really.
absolutely is. And you asked earlier if the rest of the body cares about a cold nose.
Yeah, does it?
It absolutely does. The impact of that cold exposure isn't just local. The research indicates it actually suppresses immune functions throughout your entire body.
Hold on. If my coat is keeping my core warm, how does cold air on my nose lead to my whole system being suppressed? The research mentions things like the gut microbiota getting thrown off. That feels like a huge leap.
It's a profound connection, and it shows how interconnected our systems really are. The source material notes that cold exposure disrupts your gut microbiota homeostasis.
So it throws the healthy bacteria in your gut out of balance.
Right. And it also alters your lipid metabolism, which is just how your body processes fats. When these really fundamental processes are disrupted, they collectively reduce your overall immunity.
So it's not just a surface level chill.
No, it's a systemic stress response. That cold air triggers a cascade that impacts functions all over, reducing your resilience to infection, not just in your nose.
That's incredible. It's like the cold air is sending a distress signal to the entire system, pulling resources away from the front lines.
And we can actually see that in the data. Studies on cold-exposed mice showed a measurable drop in their key immune cells,
Like what?
like their T cells and B cells, which are your frontline soldiers, right? Those decreased in the bloodstream. At the same time, inflammatory factors went up. It's a clear signal of a systemic reduction in defense.
And this isn't just in mice.
No, not at all. There was research on human workers exposed to temperatures between 0 and 10 degrees Celsius. It found that respiratory symptoms were 1.1 to 2.2 times more common than in people working in warmer places.
So the correlation is real, and it's driven by these biological mechanisms.
Exactly. It's not a coincidence.
And beyond just muting the immune system, the cold air itself is physically damaging the airways.
That's right. Cold air inhalation does a couple of detrimental things. First, it causes the fluid on the surface of your airway to evaporate,
Making it dry.
which makes it hypertonic, basically, too salty, and that causes irritation and inflammation. But second, and this is crucial, cold exposure impairs something called mucociliary clearance.
Okay, that's another one of those terms we need to break down.
For sure. Think of it as a tiny biological conveyor belt in your respiratory tract. It's covered in these microscopic hairs called cilia, and they're constantly sweeping debris, pollutants, and pathogens up and out of your lungs.
It's like a self-cleaning system built right in.
The ultimate self-cleaning mechanism. But when that conveyor belt gets cold, it slows down or gets impaired. It can't clear out those invading pathogens effectively.
So, let me get this straight. The virus is replicating faster, the immune alarms are muted, and now the cleaning crew has stopped working.
It's a triple whammy. The door is wide open for an infection to take hold.
Okay, so what does this all mean for prevention? If my coat is just an external shield that fails on all these internal fronts, what are the actual evidence-based strategies we should be focusing on?
This is where we need to shift our focus, right? From just bundling up externally to supporting our internal defenses and controlling our environment.
So what's the first step? The easiest adjustment.
Humidity control. Because that dry winter air is a big part of the problem, maintaining adequate indoor humidity, the research suggests between 40 and 60%, is a huge help. It preserves that mucosal integrity and keeps the conveyor belt running smoothly.
That makes sense. And what about those temperature shocks?
Yeah, temperature consistency. The research suggests we should try to avoid sudden temperature changes greater than 5 degrees Celsius.
So like going from a superheated house right out into the freezing cold.
Exactly. Or even the blast of cold air from intense air conditioning in the summer. Those sudden shifts can trigger respiratory symptoms.
And then there's the obvious one we always forget.
Crowding and ventilation. It sounds basic, but reducing indoor crowding and improving ventilation are still absolutely essential to cut down on transmission. That's how you fight the indoor paradox.
Now, I did see one place where specialized clothing did make a difference in the research.
Yes, that's a good point. For extreme cold gear, if you are really working in punishing environments, using proper protective clothing with serious thermal insulation, at least 1.1 clo units, does measurably reduce cold-related respiratory symptoms.
So if you're skiing in the Arctic, the jacket matters. But for a walk to the grocery store?
The focus should probably be elsewhere. And finally, they're supplementing our internal defenses.
Let me guess, vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Strengthening your immune function through adequate vitamin D levels is supported by research. Though the sources are clear, high-dose supplementation showed mixed results.
So the goal is to just make sure you're not deficient, not necessarily to megadose.
Exactly. Just have adequate levels.
Okay, so let's try to bring all these crucial findings into focus for everyone.
Let's do it. First takeaway. The vulnerability is local, not core. The real fight is won or lost in your upper respiratory tract, right in your nose. That's where cold air mutes your interferon alarm system and lets cold viruses thrive at that chilly 33 degrees Celsius.
Okay, and second, insulation is insufficient. That heavy coat fails because it doesn't address the core problems, right? It doesn't stop cold air inhalation, it doesn't stop the systemic immune suppression, and it definitely doesn't help with your internal self-cleaning system.
Or the risk of being crowded indoors. And that leads to the third takeaway. Environment is your shield. You should focus your efforts less on your fleece and more on your living space.
So maintaining good indoor humidity, avoiding those sudden temperature swings.
Those things directly support your natural respiratory defenses right where they matter most.
It seems like the common idea that staying warm prevents colds is a classic case of mixing up correlation with causation.
Absolutely. Colds and flu peak in cold weather, that's the correlation.
But the causation isn't the cold itself, it's these complex biological responses to the cold. The research clearly shows the warm clothes are just keeping you comfortable. The real fight is happening inside your nose, where your jacket has no jurisdiction.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative question to think about. If the very act of breathing cold air weakens our body's first line of defense against viruses, should we be thinking less about what we wear outside and more about how we filter, humidify, and heat the air we breathe inside our homes and workplaces?
That's a great point. Maybe the future of preventing winter illness isn't in better jackets, but in smarter indoor air systems.
It's definitely something to chew on the next time you adjust your humidifier.
Powerful questions to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the science of the sniffle. If you want to cut through the noise and get straight to the crucial findings from the world's latest research, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We look forward to diving into your sources next time.